Could WWE soon strike a deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling to become the company's partner in North America? There's a lot of speculation that could happen pretty soon. There's a lot of reporting about how likely that is. We've got an update. I'm going to discuss it in this video. Before I do, though, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right, so obviously, for the past few years, we know that New Japan Pro Wrestling, their North American partner, has been AEW, All Elite Wrestling. They have partnered on a few shows now, mainly their Forbidden Door pay-per-view that is co-promoted under both brands and really runs in North America under the AEW banner. And it's one of the biggest wrestling shows of the year as far as pay-per-view buys outside of WWE. And when you talk about interest and match quality as well. But it looks like the tides aren't turning, but have the potential to turn. Here's why. There has been reporting on this by a few different outlets. Of course, PW Insider, I believe, had that initial report that stated that there was interest from WWE to strike some sort of agreement, some sort of deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling, that the Triple H regime is now more open than previous regimes had been towards a partnership or more partnerships with global professional wrestling companies. And now, according to Fightful, it looks like the potential for that happening is more likely than ever. And basically, the background is that the last time WWE and New Japan Pro Wrestling tried to come to some sort of an agreement, it was when Bryan Danielson's contract was up, and the entire backbone of the deal was WWE were trying to get Bryan Danielson to stay, and Bryan Danielson said, I really want to wrestle in New Japan. Of course, two parties could not come to a deal, led to, or what is one of the reasons why Bryan Danielson eventually joined All Elite Wrestling. But hope could be on the horizon for those WWE New Japan fans, as with the appointment of Hiroshi Tanahashi as the new president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, new ownership in WWE, a potential deal between the two companies is more likely than it ever has been. So, knowing this and knowing that, of course, one of the pillars of All Elite Wrestling right now is the fact that they can work with New Japan talent and they have that talent exchange. Like, it's a big deal for AEW's brand to be able to bring in talent from Japan, to be able to bring in talent and export talent like Kenny Omega, big names in Japan, Kenny Omega, in the future, Will Ospreay, and others to Japan. I'm telling you, I know a lot of people want to look at this and look at the landscape of professional wrestling as it currently stands and say that there's no way that WWE is going to be able to strike a deal with New Japan. There's no way that WWE would strike a deal with New Japan. There's just no way. One thing that I think everyone needs to realize about pro wrestling right now is that we live in unprecedented times. Vince McMahon is no longer in charge of WWE. Kevin Dunn is out as far as being the director of their shows. It is the Triple H show. What Triple H wants done is likely what is going to happen. Nick Khan and Triple H both, it seems, have their synergies aligned and are going to be the ones making these key decisions. And if you're Nick Khan and you look at this and you want to break out into a very lucrative professional wrestling market in Japan, and you're Triple H and you say, I not only want to be able to send talent to New Japan to work there and build up WWE's name recognition, build up trust between that audience and have a presence in Japan, I also want my talent to go there to get better, because it is undeniable that some of the best professional wrestlers and the best professional wrestling you will ever see has been happening on New Japan Pro Wrestling shows. That is just a matter of fact. They have been able to not only acquire really good upstart young talent in the past, but also build them up, train them to be future stars of tomorrow. Look at the Elite. AEW does not happen without Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes going over to New Japan Pro Wrestling, joining the Bullet Club, and that whole thing being larger than life. None of that happens without the New Japan Pro Wrestling platform and everything that New Japan provided. Like, we need to acknowledge that, and that's why I think when people say, like, how much is WWE seriously interested? Like, if you're WWE, you're also looking at, you may want to upstart new NXT Japan again. There's talk of course, they already have some sort of an agreement with All Japan Wrestling. But if you're WWE, and this has always been the thing with WWE, you are the biggest professional wrestling company in the world. There is no reason, absolutely no reason, why you should not be able to go to the biggest professional wrestling company in Japan and say, hey, you should sign a deal with us. You should be working with us. We are bigger. We are better. We have bigger stars. It's just a matter of fact. I like AEW more than the next guy, but the reality is WWE has a lot to offer. Now, if you're New Japan, the question is, what are you going to be giving up? You'd be giving up the potential of having Kenny Omega on your big shows. You may be giving up the potential to have Will Ospreay soon enough on your big shows. People who have been instrumental in building up New Japan Pro Wrestling and really keeping it afloat, especially throughout the pandemic. And one thing that I think people shouldn't also discount is New Japan Pro Wrestling at some point may become the deciding party in all of this. And their decision is going to be, do we go with a bigger brand? Do we go with WWE? Do we take that and all it has to offer? Probably a lot of money, probably the ability to use WWE stars every now and then, that's fine. Or do we stick to what we're doing now with AEW, continue and maintain the partnership that we have with them, co-promote shows with them, but also have access to talent that not only our audience knows, but our audience trusts. Talent that the New Japan Pro Wrestling audience has paid to see, like Kenny Omega, like Will Ospreay, like Jay White. List goes on. And I know that people are going to say that, you know, WWE has Roman Reigns, they have Seth Rollins, they have all these guys. The two things that I'm looking at, right, or I'm thinking about when people bring up that argument, like WWE has more to offer, they have bigger stars to offer, it's a no-brainer, is number one, how many of those stars are actually going to be able to consistently, or even on like on the big shows, wrestle in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I highly doubt Roman Reigns is ever going to wrestle in New Japan, no matter what the deal is. I highly doubt it. But more than that, one thing we need to also account for is when you're a new company that, you know, doesn't necessarily have a big presence in a market like Japan or any global market, it is harder to break out on your own than, you know, partnering with a local company or partnering with a company that runs in that country. That's why people want to make partnerships with New Japan and All Japan, because All Japan, New Japan, these are trusted brands in professional wrestling. And it's a lot easier to, you know, make use of their audiences and the platforms that they have than try to build your own if you're a company like AEW or WWE. Now, knowing that, the New Japan Pro Wrestling executives, Tanahashi included, have to also think about this. As great and as big as those stars are that you have the potential of working with, how much are you giving up when you're talking about the stars that people have been paying to see who are in AEW, the stars that people trust, the stars that people want to see wrestle? How much of that are you giving up? Because it's not like Kenny Omega and, you know, Jay White and all these guys, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page. It's not like they came out of, like, they were big stars somewhere else. And, you know, they just came over here, they came over to New Japan and became the next big thing. No. They became big time stars in New Japan Pro Wrestling. These are essentially, I'm not going to say homegrown, but they became stars in the elite during their time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So when you take into account that, and you're New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're like, we can't have access to these guys that we know are gonna draw versus guys that could draw, but will they draw as much? Like, that is a question. And New Japan's been through a lot of turmoil these past couple of years, and we'll see if they're willing to take a risk. Of course, no deal has been signed. No deal has even been, I think, negotiated at this point. Partnership is possible. We'll see how likely it is. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.